More Good.
Welcome to More Good Drinks. This week being joined by Devan Nesbitt, one of the, I think, institutional characters now of Wellington hospitality, certainly as that hospitality world has sort of consolidated slightly. Your face, your name, your hospitality and your welcome, greeting people at Dee's Place most recently, is becoming kind of iconic. So thank you so much for taking some time to join us. How the heck are you on this day?
Yeah, really good, thank you. Day off today, so I managed to get a bit of time to slide in here with you, which is awesome. Yeah.
Cool. So I am keen to unpack a little bit of the story of you, and in particular, what has led you into hospitality and the way that you view your career to date and your career moving forward. So why don't you kind of crack open the family album and walk us through highlights of Devan as you have tackled and engaged in this world of hospitality?
Yeah, so I guess it all started off while I was at university. I took a job at a bar purely out of necessity. Just needed to earn some extra income while I was studying. It was one of the later night bars, so we get a lot of people from bars and restaurants who would finish up before us and come in. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of how I met some people who sort of helped introduce me to the world of like better service and history behind cocktails and that sort of thing. Because before that, it was just sort of serving like spirit mixes and beers and jugs and stuff. Mm-hmm. I think one of the big things was a friend of mine who was working down at CGR at the time came in and he's like, "Can I have a Negroni?" And I was like, "Well, what the hell is that?" And he goes, points to the Martini Rosso that was sitting up on the shelf that had probably been open for far too long. Points to the bottle of Campari and then points to the gin and goes, "Just equal parts of those three things." And I was thinking in my head, what the hell? Like, those two things that are up on the shelf, I've tried before and I do not like the flavour of them. Albeit the vermouth was probably very oxidised and not in its best quality. Mm-hmm. So I mixed it together for him and he took a sip and he was like, "Yeah, it's totally fine." Then he sort of talked me behind the history about it and where it came from. And that kind of sparked something in my head that was kind of like, okay, cool. So there's like history behind these things. And and then I used to just go see him down the road and he'd sort of walk me through more cocktails and history behind stuff. And then eventually, I think we had a guy playing live music during the week there. And he worked at Matterhorn at the time. Which is, as a lot of people know, like probably one of the biggest, most influential places that was in Wellington. Mm-hmm. Rest its soul.
Yes, may it rest in
peace.
And
a lot of his workmates would come in at the end of their shifts to come see him play his last little bit of the set, and I got to know them, and then got to the point where they were looking for a new junior bartender, and because I'd known them from serving them across the bar there, they gave me the shot to go and join them, and that's kind of where it really kicked off for me.
What were you studying?
A business degree at Victoria.
Okay.
Yeah, marketing and management double major.
Mm-hmm. Did you finish it?
It was one of those things where I know I didn't. No.
Okay. The drink
I kind of got more involved with the drinks and service side of things, and that kind of really excited me. And the study was just not what I was after. I couldn't really see myself going forward with it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Matterhorn, obviously, I mean, when we talk about institutions and particularly in New Zealand bartending, so many of them either are or were terrible, and we have to speak in the past tense, but are or were in Wellington, and Matterhorn was certainly one of those. That story with the Negroni, was that the first time somebody had actually walked you through the history and story of a cocktail?
I'd never heard of one before, like genuinely never heard of it. I was like, "A what?"
Do you drink them now?
Oh, I love them now, yeah. all variations.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so from Matterhorn, how long were you there, and what's been the progression as you've moved through?
So I was there for, I think, only like the last 8 months they were open, because they were closing down due to a historic building next to them needing to be renovated, which meant they were losing the lease on the spot there. From that, the owners of that place opened a place called Montecivino, which is Matterhorn in Italian. Mm-hmm. And that was more food focused with a bigger focus on wine. But both at Matterhorn and Montecivino is where I was working with TK first, who's the owner of Dee's Place. Mm-hmm. And we've just become really close friends from there, and kind of made a pact together that if either of us had the opportunity to open a bar, the other one would drop whatever they were doing and go help the other person out.
So what did you drop?
You'll see later in the story, that's kind of, that's where that came in. So from, I guess the next most notable sort of point in my journey would be going to Hawthorn Lounge in 2019. And that's where I just had some great mentorship and really got to hone in on my skills and learn all the little finer details about things, as well as building a huge amount of knowledge on classic drinks, which really helped out a lot. Mm-hmm. And then also working for a great operator, Justin McKenzie, like fantastic guy, really knows what he's doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Big props to him. Yeah.
20 years of Hawthorn Lounge this year.
Exactly. Yeah.
Which
exactly.
is wild.
Yeah. Insane. Like that's unheard of. That's yeah. If it's not an institution, I don't know what is. And then yeah, from starting at Hawthorn Lounge at the time, Alex Vowles was the manager, who's become a dear friend of mine as well.
Mm-hmm.
And he just really mentored me, like just refined every part about what I was doing, which is incredible. Yeah, I've got a lot to thank him for. And yeah, it was there for 3.5, 4 years. There's a point where Alex had left to go experience some stuff overseas and check that side of the world out. And then I was asked to sort of step up into that management role, which was
a great time
genuinely
for a
like
business and marketing degree.
Yeah, exactly. But also, I guess they knew I was ready because they'd offered me to step into that role, but I still felt like I had a lot to learn. And I still feel that way about a lot of things. I feel like, yeah, there's constantly more and more stuff to learn. And yeah, and I guess sometimes you can undersell yourself because there is just so much knowledge out there and yeah, and you want to perfect everything, I guess. So yeah, stepped into that role for a bit and then really terrible timing, TK gave me a call and was like, hey man, I've got an opportunity to open a bar. Here's kind of the broad concept. I want you to be involved.
Day dot employees are something special, right? Yeah.
And yeah, and I'm a man of my word. So I was like, sure, man, I'm going to have a very emotional conversation with Justin because, yeah, it was pretty hard leaving that place. And then went to actually, before we opened Dee's place, I went overseas for a trip with my partner to go visit her family in Italy. So we're over there for 6 weeks. And then as soon as I got back, it was getting stuck into doing the fit out and sort of finessing all the details.
A couple of things that I want to, I guess, unpack a little bit more. You've spoken a lot about mentorship and then the learning of the history and the reasons and the construction of drinks. Other than the people, what have been some of the key influences in your style of bartending and drink construction and the way that you think about it?
I'd say just doing a lot of like self-teaching as well. So like finding as many resources as you can and taking from those. I've got effectively a library at home of cocktail books by different authors and listen to a few key podcasts as well, which are really lovely. And sometimes like online publications, just see what's going on in the world and sort of what's trending. And I think a big one now would be social media. Like it's insane the amount of knowledge that's coming through that. But you do have to be a little bit picky because anyone can upload it and sort of trends become trendy without having a huge amount of reason behind them just because they kind of look cool and do the thing.
I'm almost 100% certain that social media is the reason why the milk punch just won't quit being top 5.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's a texture you find pretty hard to get from other drinks as well. Like it's like super silky and and fun. And like there's still a lot of people who haven't experienced them, I think, as well. And like the whole thing of something being that crystal clear and tasting, a lot
rich
more in depth than what it looks.
Yeah. It's just unfortunate that because
you don't need to do it to everything though. Yeah.
Exactly. You know what? Sometimes I would like a piece of banoffee pie, not a drink of banoffee pie. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So let's talk a little bit then about that Dee's Place concept and what TK was envisaging, but how much of your own kind of blood, sweat and tears is actually in the floorboards of that place, given, how early on you were involved.
Yeah. I guess he kind of outlined the general concept of the space and everything. And then I was kind of there just to reaffirm things or put in my input where he was a little bit uncertain about something. But I guess the easiest way to like distill it down is it's just a bar that we wanted to go to. That's just the general sense. We weren't going for a certain demographic or certain style. It was just like, what does a bar look like that we want to go and sit at and drink? And how does service operate? What sort of music do they play? What's the lighting like? So it was more rather than trying to target anyone else, it was just sort of speaking out to what we wanted to go and do.
And you found yourself to be a trustworthy customer?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, it seems to be working well.
Okay. So
if not, at least converting a few people as well, which is nice. So,
so for people who haven't been to Dee's Place, describe it for us. What are they likely to expect? What will they experience as they arrive into that spot and make their way? Describe it for us. In an ideal scenario, what is that experience?
Yeah, I guess it can be a little surprising when you walk upon the doors because we don't have any signage or anything. So it's just sort of go down this like a little bit crusty stairwell and then walk through the door and be surprised at the change in scenery. So down into a little basement bar, open up lots of old timber, nice smell, vinyl music playing on the speakers. We're usually playing country or blues kind of don't really deviate too much from those two genres. And then, yeah, lively atmosphere where you can get a really decent drink, but without any pretension. We just want it to be like super fun, laid back, but still like world-class drinks.
Mm. One of my personal favourite things about D's is that and they're hard to come by these days, bars in New Zealand where you can actually pull up a seat at the bar and there's room for more than one or two people to join you.
That was a huge part of it. So yeah, that was like the base design of the whole space was around that bar. The bar is definitely the centerpiece of the whole venue. Which is why there's a bit of room behind there for the bartenders, just because of the way we had to do the fridges and stuff, because it is in the basement, so we couldn't like knock into any of the walls or anything. But yeah, big long bar top. Bar top's all made out of native timber. It's all made of totara, and we've got 12 seats there, which is pretty awesome. Some places you're lucky to get like 2 or 3, but yeah, we want everyone to sit at the bar, and they are generally the first seats to fill up as well when we open for service. So that's pretty awesome.
A huge part of the atmosphere is that engagement with, you and your team behind the bar. What are you aiming for in terms of that style of service? You talked about, becoming entranced by offering that level of service. And in fact, even like it stood out to me when you were talking about how you got your start and choosing to deviate from the degree into service. Service was the first thing that you mentioned ahead of, or I really got into drinks, or I fell in love with, a stirred down style, or I fell in love with vermouth, or any of those things. It was service was the first thing that you said. So talk to me about the service experience, that you're aiming for and what it is that you're hoping to deliver, but also that you aspire for your team to be creating.
Yeah, I think for us it's definitely a lot more laid back because we are all bar service. A lot of bars that are doing a similar offering to us will be doing table service, as it's an easier way to sort of manage the night. But we just get way too busy with a lot of people, and we kind of want to keep it a little bit more casual as well. And that sort of like North American style of like squeezing in between people and ordering when it's busy on the weekends. And yeah, I guess it creates conversation with guests as well, which is quite nice. But in terms of service, it's just making sure like the drinks are perfect. They're coming out in a short amount of time, as short as possible, and just using the best ingredients. Like we just want everything to be fresh, really good, really chilled, and yeah, the best that we can do.
And if we're talking
without being like over the top, like it's like I said, it's not table service or anything. It is just like a fun, relaxed atmosphere. So we want it to be all built around that bar. So getting people to sort of come up to that bar, that centerpiece that we have built, and then sort of go back to their tables and back and forth. Just very, very traditional and more sort of old school in a way, if you get what I mean.
There's something really interesting about the social choreography of people sitting at a table in a bar like this, and then coming up to the bar to place an order, and then going back. It engages a different type of relational transaction with the bar staff. Do you find that
100%.
that people are kind of maintaining two conversations? They're maybe at a table with pals, and then they're up and they're.
And with it being bar service, like we do like deliver drinks to tables. So if it's a couple of cocktails, we'll be like, hey, take a seat with your friend, go enjoy your conversation. We'll drop the drinks down to you. It's mainly a thing just to manage when we're super busy. Like we just don't have the physical time to get down there and take orders from all the tables, and it's just not the way that we're staffed, or it's not the way it was designed. Yeah, we've designed it in that way. But yeah, often we'll be able to deliver those drinks down to the table. If not by the person who made it, then one of the other guys behind the bar who's helping us out.
And there is like when I think about Wellington, and I was there just recently with the brief of taking a snapshot of a number of different venues and looking for the themes and the icons, and one of the themes is stairs, right? You're always either going upstairs or downstairs to a bar in Wellington.
It's kind of funny, like, and especially with having worked at Hawthorn before this, which is the complete opposite. It's going up the stairs, and now I found myself going down them.
So yeah,
which is it's less fun for taking the bins out at the end of the night. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, there is a lot.
They got to go up the stairs now rather than down them.
Yeah. There's a lot of truth in that. I hadn't thought about that actually. Yeah. Okay.
No one does, because it's not something that we sort of really talk about, but it's just a fun little fact.
Well, one of the things that stood out in Wellington recently, I was like, okay, Ascot's got the slushy machine on the back. You guys have got the juicer in the middle of the bar, noisy when it's running, but it kind of, when I think about the choreography or what's happening in terms of the soundtrack of a night at Dee's place, that juicer rolling sort of signals to me. It's kind of like, oh yeah, okay, somebody else is coming in to have a good time.
Yeah.
Whiskey and apple, at least that's what I drink, when I'm down there. That tends to be the first place to start. Was it designed to be an iconic kind of a, yep, the juicer is the centerpiece and this is a talking point, or is it accidentally become that?
I think it's definitely become its own monster. It was originally intended just to be like a quick, simple serve that was approachable, especially for people who didn't think they liked whiskey. Like, what's a way that we can get people towards drinking whiskey but make it super approachable and nice and quick? And that's kind of how that came around. And yeah, it's surprising the amount of people who swear that they hate American whiskey, and then they have one of those. They're like, actually, I
This is all
consider.
right.
Yeah, exactly. And then from there, we can sort of push them into some of the other offerings. That's another thing. Like, we've got a huge focus on American whiskey. We want more people drinking it so we can get more stuff over here, because the lack of market over here is pretty hard
Mm,
to get some of those good bottles that we're
mhm.
desperately trying to get a hold of over in the States.
How's that conversion rate tracking, do you think? I mean,
Pretty well, yeah. We've had from day one, like, a lot of people who swore they were just single malt drinkers and didn't want to touch American stuff, and then sort of find out what profiles they like in Scotch, and none of it translates directly, but you can kind of get an idea of whether they'd like what sort of style of American whiskey they'd prefer.
mm,
And yeah, had some great regulars that we've created over the last couple of years who swore by purely single malts, and now come in, and even if we release like a special bottle or something, they're like the first people to get in there. So that's pretty awesome.
you mean
In
whiskey
saying that, we
nerds,
do have a pretty small but mighty selection of single malt Scotch as well.
small but mighty, just like
Yeah.
Scotland itself, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, ever the brave, ever the conquering. Yeah, let's talk about American whiskey because it's something that I don't get to talk about anywhere near as often as I'd like to.
Mhm.
So, what kind of leads in terms of the palate that you're serving down there? Obviously, you've got a variety, but what do you find the average drinker coming in as they're beginning that conversion journey? You know, what are they leaning for? Are they kind of rye heavy? Are they, sweet wheated bourbon? What's
It's
the style?
funny that you started with rye, because that's generally where a lot of these guys start off.
Mhm.
Is starting with something sort of a little bit drier and spicier, and then from there you can sort of push people around and be like, hey, if you like that, why don't you try this one in contrast that's like a lot richer, or
Mhm.
like you said, like a weeder that's like a little bit more fruity on the palate and full. And yeah, you can sort of have some fun, and we've got a big enough offering there that we can sort of push and pull and figure out what you like. And sometimes you might prefer a drier, spicier style, but then there's this really sweet, rich, oaky little bomb that you really enjoy as well.
Mhm. It
So yeah,
leans
it's
in
just sort
really
of,
well.
yeah, no, 100%.
Leans in really well to the cocktail play, right?
Oh yes, yeah, 100%.
American whiskey, cocktails, match made in heaven.
It's in so many of the classics that it's hard to escape. And then people get a better understanding of it as well.
Mhm. So how does the menu roll? Like, is it consistent ideation and turnover? Is it seasonal? Are you working with a format of classics to twists to
So
unrelated?
when we first opened, it was mainly like classics and modern classics, but like a little bit obscure, like not as well known. So sort of just
Okay.
trying to push people originally towards American whiskey, and then
Mhm.
we'd have a few like couple of gin cocktails and something with rum or something in it as well on the side. And then they got into like sort of deviating from that and doing like slight twists on stuff like that. And now it's just fully seasonal by whatever produce we can get. And we sort of, rather than going with an idea of a classic drink and twisting around, it's going off the flavor profile of what we can get in for fresh produce and what we're feeling.
Mhm.
And yeah, try to change it fairly often, but sometimes just with everything else going on, it can take a little bit longer to get them over the line.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Mhm.
we're a little bit overdue at the moment, but that should be changing fairly shortly.
But it's like the milk punch, right? I mean, by the time we're sick of it, customers are only just starting to get their heads around it.
Yeah. And we
So
usually do feature one milk punch on the menu as well, just because it is a fun little drink, and yeah, maybe it's a little bit too trendy, but I know I enjoy them. I think they're fun
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
fun to play around with.
When it comes to the mentorship that you have received and I imagine are still leaning into, although maybe in slightly different contexts, how are you how what kind of approach do you take to paying that forward with the team that you're working with now?
I think just trying to get everyone to be the best version of themselves, because not everyone can be a replica of you or a replica of someone else. Like,
Mhm.
you need to figure out what their strengths are and sort of push them towards that. I think it could be a little bit stricter and tougher back when I was first learning, and I don't necessarily think that's the best approach to have. Um, yeah, because I think a lot of the earlier stuff sort of stemmed from like that kitchen culture back in the day, where it was like very hard, like militant. This is what you have to do.
Mm.
And sort of strict and not the most healthy way to teach people.
Mm. Yep.
not that's also nothing to do with TKRL, because that's other people. I just wanted to clarify on that. They
Yeah.
were both
No
fantastic
one who's
mentors.
been name checked in this
Ex-
podcast is
exactly.
guilty of anything,
Exactly.
right? Yeah, okay.
So you're just finding a way, and that can sort of be challenging in itself because everyone is different and people are receptive to different types of teaching, and you've just got to figure that out
Mm.
and then go from there. But yeah, I think biggest thing is just sort of teaching the fundamentals and pushing for a high standard as well, without being, I don't know what the right word is, but like, yeah, without being too militant and like hard on people. So yeah, trying to get the best out of them with a nice environment, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
as funny
Well,
as it sounds.
well, we're still in the business of fun and good times, right?
And that's a big part of it as well. Like, you're not just there to work, you're there to enjoy yourself. If you're not enjoying the space that you're in, then you should probably find somewhere else to go, or something else to do, because what's the point of being miserable if you're in a space that you're getting paid to be there?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
One of the things, I'm going to make a terrible segue here, but I can't resist it.
that's cool.
One of the worst things, a pure shortcut to misery in a bar for me, is sitting down to have a drink, which is typically stirred down because that's how I like it,
Hmm.
and then being confronted by a cold nose as large format ice interrupts my
Yeah,
experience
yeah.
of the drink. And one of the things that I've noticed, I know this is extremely myopic, terrible segue, right? So misery in a bar is, how do I enjoy this without getting a cold nose from ice that's pushing too far past the wash line? Or anyway, we can go many,
Yeah,
many,
yeah.
many things. But I was in your bar the other night, and that didn't happen. And I went back into the archive, and I realized, oh, actually, I don't know that that's ever happened in your bar, which automatically makes your bar a happy place to be because no cold nose. But it got us started into this thinking and conversation about actually the thoughtfulness that goes into how you construct a drink, the starting and the finishing of a drink, which were elements that you had paid such close attention to in constructing those drinks for us. And I wanted to have a conversation about it with you because it requires a level of thoughtfulness to think about how you construct small and large format ice in order to ensure the drink can be enjoyed without distraction, without friction, without interruption. Now, that's my view on it and description of it from sort of the consumer sitting on one side of the bar. But I'd love to ask you to unpack and explain the approach that you're taking to not just creating flavor, but actually building the drink and the experience that goes into that drink from start to finish. And let's start with the ice. Where did that come from?
I think you've already sort of set it out nice and clearly. The ice is arguably the most important thing in any bar. Like, you can ask any of the top bars around the world if you could choose like one ingredient that had to be of the highest tier, and it's always going to be ice. It's just fundamentally the most important part. So for us, yeah, with stirred drinks, like many other bars, we usually serve them slightly under-diluted because it can dilute further over time, and you can't take that dilution away once it's got in there. So start off with one of our little cubes that is not that little. We use a Hoshizaki ice machine, and we start off with one of those cubes, build the drink into the glass, and then give it a quick little stir. And that just sort of helps start that dilution process, and then shrinks the cube a little bit. And then we pop in one of our big rocks cubes in there and give another little stir just until it tilts and it offsets. And then you've got this lovely little peak poking out of the top of the cocktail, and set off to the side, which helps for things like you're talking about, like when you're going to take a sip and your nose is bumping that ice cube, it kind of holds it out of the way.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Yeah, that wasn't the functional intent of it. It was purely for aesthetics and getting the right dilution, and it just happens to be a happy accident where
it
people
makes
like
the drinking
you
more
and myself
pleasurable.
have a bit of time.
Are you saying I've got a big nose? Is that
I'm
what you're
just saying
saying?
that I'm saying mine's a little angular, and you've brought up that you've had a similar issue. So
Yeah. Well, the risk for me is, right, you, like drinks writer, you go into any experience that you're going into, I'm wanting to access as much aroma as I possibly can, before I
massive.
go in. And then you're like, wait, hold on, here's, how do I actually get to that? And the thing that I so appreciated about it as well is that it makes the whole drinking experience, and it might sound like such a myopic thing to be describing, but when you pick up the glass, and because the larger format ice is on that slight tilt, as you lift the glass to drink, the ice moves around with the weight of gravity. And so you have this very visceral experience as you go in to take a sip, and it really does. And then as you pull the drink back and you put it back, it twists again, and it gives you it adds actually a dynamism, a vibration, a sense of movement to the drinking experience that I don't think people often necessarily consider. I would think the closest parallel that I can think of is some examples from Japan and like kind of some of the original innovative Japanese bartending, where there are props and toys and lights and bubble machines that go around the service of an individual drink, an individual serve, that add some of those, dynamic moments to it. But the realization for me, just a couple of weeks ago, of going, wow, that same sense of movement and shift can be as effectively achieved, but in the simplicity of the way the ice is moving in the glass. And that for me was a little bit like, oh,
Yeah.
this is revelatory to think how far that goes.
Yeah.
And then we get into garnishes and atomizers and the finishing. And we so often talk about the finishing of a cocktail, but we hardly ever talk about the start, right? So there we go.
Yeah.
We've covered the start and the ice and the building. Let's talk a little bit about the finishing of the cocktail and how that what you're paying attention to when it comes to the program at D's, and what's inspired that, and where does that line of thinking come from?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for us is it's usually quite minimalist to maximalist. Like, if we don't need to have a garnish, we're not going to put one on for the sake of putting one on.
Mm-hmm.
I find it wasteful, and I just don't see the point in it. And a lot of times, if you're just putting like a little wedge of citrus on the side of something, someone's going to squeeze it in there before they've even had a sip of it and completely throw it all off. But yeah, back to the ice thing. Like, sometimes we'll put a coin of citrus on the top,
Mm-hmm.
or some sort of aromatic component. And like you said, when that ice cube comes around, it just sits quite nicely under that shelf by your nose there, and is the first thing to hit you, which is really fun. But yeah, I guess every garnish is sort of thought out and is there for a reason. We kind of steer away from doing things just for the sake of it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Just if it's going to add that finishing touch, whether it's aroma first or a visual aspect, it's there for those two reasons. Nothing's getting plopped in for the sake of it.
But what if there's 10 points given for the garnish? How do you get the 10 points in the competition for no garnish because it doesn't need one? I'm being
well. Then
slightly
you'd have to figure a way that you're putting something in there that would add to it or finish it off. Like, it could be that first bit of aroma or that first visual cue as well. 'Cause sometimes that's a big point. Like, for example, the milk punch at the moment that we have has got like a little lime disc on it, and it just completely contrasts the color of the rest of the drink while adding a little bit of that fresh citrus aroma to it as well. So yeah, for us, about the look, and whether it's adding to. Because if it's not adding to, then it's not going on.
Do you run the risk of, when you've got that sort of approach and you've got these kind of clear lines that you're running in, right? Like, okay, American whiskey, okay, it's classics and modern classics with a twist, but there's always a milk punch, which is a classic. Let's be real. Yeah. How do you think about, now that D's is really, running with momentum and steam? How do you think about the cadence of innovation or the cadence of change and trends within what you're doing in the bar?
Yeah, we kind of think about it all the time. It's super important, and it's also important to figure out what to go forward with and which ones to sort of wean out as well. Like we said, like, there's a lot of things that are sort of happening all the time, and people are jumping onto it. But I guess the roots of everything is, like, we want to do sort of classic style stuff. We don't have any fancy equipment, like we don't have a rotovap or anything like that. But like, as fancy as we get is like a immersion circulator with some vacuum seal bags, which can be super effective. But just taking that sort of simple approach to everything and letting the flavors speak. Especially when we're looking at seasonal stuff, it's like, we really like this flavor. How do we make this super bold and prominent? And what's it going to go with? And like, I guess just sort of playing around with stuff and having a bit of fun. Like, there's no crazy format to it. We're still kind of figuring that out, I guess. Yeah. So
you've talked about the role of seasonal produce. To what degree do you think at the moment the menu and the style of drinks that you're approaching is being driven by what's available seasonally versus what's available to play with in terms of back bar and imported product?
Yeah, right. At the moment, it's a little bit of both, because it has been on for a little longer than we usually do. But I guess the conceptualization of it was driven by that first seasonality thing. And then in terms of availability and things in the back bar, we don't have any strict things on that. It's just kind of whatever we deem to work best with it, and we encourage the guys to play around with whatever as well. Like we're not locked into any contracts and have to do certain things, which is really nice.
Mm-hmm.
And we've got that freedom there just to just truly explore and figure out how to make the best version of whatever your concept is.
Mm. And so what do you make your Negroni with these days? What's your
Our
go-to
Negroni
off the rack?
is with Roots Gin down from Marlborough.
Mm-hmm.
It makes that. It's absolutely cracking. And then we use a vermouth blend. So we blend 3 different commercially available vermouths together at a different ratio. And then just Campari, because we've found nothing else can really beat it. It kind of has to be in a Negroni.
Mm-hmm.
And we also do a little more gin than everything else. We go 3 parts gin, 2 parts each of Campari and vermouth.
I mean, when the gin's that good, right?
Exactly.
So I'm interested by the vermouth blending.
Mm-hmm.
Are you doing that for scale? Are you doing that for texture? Are you doing that for flavor? Are you doing that for cost efficiency? How's that working for you? Because obviously there's a lot of like that. There's additional labor. There's additional storage. There's all sorts of things that
100%.
go into
It's
that
it's
kind of batching.
definitely not for cost effectiveness because we're using some pretty nice stuff, but it's mainly just because we tried a few different versions out. And we just wanted the best vermouth that we could have that was nice and robust and kind of fit with most classic cocktails that you could make.
Yeah,
something
so it
that's got
operates as your house vermouth, effectively.
exactly. Yeah. Any drink that's got sweet vermouth in it uses this vermouth,
Mm-hmm.
and
Okay.
you just wanted something that was rich and well encompassed and sort of fit the bill for everything without pushing too far in one or two different directions.
Mm-hmm.
Because a couple of the vermouths in there are pretty rich and on the sweeter side, and then we've got something that's like a little more earthier and dark, and just wanted
Mm-hmm.
something that was robust and could work with, like I said, pretty much any classic drink. And also you can drink it on its own. It's fantastic, just with a slice of orange and a little bit of ice in there as well.
Yes, I
Yeah,
yearn for the day. I yearn for
yeah,
the day when New Zealand becomes an Amaro culture, right?
yeah,
Like when people can just be like, yes, aperitivo, vermouth, yes,
yeah.
one of those on soda, thank you.
I think it's hidden that way. I think there's enough people involved where it's definitely a lot more geared towards than it used to be.
With traction, right?
Yeah,
Traction. We're slowly getting there. The fact that I've got 13 different options on the shelf at home, that's a good
yeah,
start.
exactly.
I just need to go out more and perhaps take a bottle or two with me.
Yeah.
Okay, let's the quick fire, which I always love. So what is it that's inspiring you right now in terms of your own development, your own inspiration? Doesn't have to be drinks related, but what's actually inspiring you and pushing your own, day-to-day momentum forward?
I'd say it's like a two-way split in terms of like creative stuff. There's some really cool guys around the world doing like a lot more drinks based off like food dishes and ingredients as opposed to that classic formula like we talked about before.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty exciting. And then it was a couple of weeks ago, I just kind of was thinking about everything and took a step back and I was like, service is like the way people feel, like people are choosing to come into your space. Like I kind of want to make sure everyone's having the best experience and they leave with like a memorable visit, because at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. Because you can just kind of get a little carried away with just creating drinks and serving them and stuff, but at the end of the day, it's about how people feel and how you achieve that feeling. And if it wasn't for the people coming in, we wouldn't be making drinks for anyone. So
Those are the
yeah,
kind
I
of
think
words that explain why you won Outstanding Bartender of the Year, 2 years ago?
yeah.
And 2
But it
years
is
later, guys,
it's
it's still all
fundamental.
about
Like it,
service.
yeah, it is super fundamental. Like we can get a little bit lost sometimes and focus on the other parts of the job, but at the end of the day, it is about the people who are coming in. Like that's
Mhm.
genuinely like they are your revenue stream. Without them, you wouldn't be able to do anything. So
Mhm. Yeah. What's on the other side of what's inspiring? What's the challenge that you see at the moment, or the one that you're whether it's for Wellington hospitality, New Zealand as a whole, for yourself that you might be challenging yourself to? What is that thing that you're facing right now? Going, okay, that's a mountain to climb, but I'm going to get there.
yeah, I think Wellington wide, there's a lot of uncertainty at the moment, just with the economic landscape, which is pretty difficult. But I think if you're putting care into what you do and you really give a damn, I think that translates through and people see that. So yeah,
Mm.
we've been kind of lucky with how busy we've been. Well, actually, no, we used to say we were lucky. We're seeing the reward for putting care and effort in. I think people can see that we care, and yeah, not so much lucky, but we've created this thing that people appreciate, and that's why we keep getting busier and busier, which is really nice. Yeah, and then other than that, yeah, it's kind of one of the big focuses at the moment in Wellington. That's all you kind of really hear about on the news, which, yeah, I know. I think, yeah, if everyone could just care and put a bit of effort in, I think you'll see a little bit of reward in that for sure.
Mm-hmm. When I talk to chefs, I always like to ask them what's their favourite family meal. But when it comes to people working behind the bar, it's what's the staffy? What's the end of the night, end of the shift? What's the thing that you sign off with at the moment?
Yeah, to be honest, for most of us at D's, it's usually just a nice crisp cold Michelob Ultra. Just simple, refreshing, very inoffensive.
Mm-hmm.
It gets pretty warm down there, so it's nice to have that sort of super chilled beer afterwards, which is nice.
Mm-hmm. And
Maybe a whiskey. Maybe a whiskey. Like if it's been like a big weekend, maybe we'll pour out a little round of something a little bit nicer.
A little bit tasty.
Yeah,
A little bit
to
nice
coincide with that pretty inoffensive beer.
And what's your favourite treat, drink, or dram at the moment?
Dram, I was lucky enough to receive a bottle of Chattanooga Bottled and Bond from a lovely regular of mine who's from Tennessee. Bought that back overseas for me, so that's been getting chipped away at slowly at home on the odd occasion after work.
Yeah, I haven't had a Chattanooga whiskey for like maybe 3 years.
Well, I didn't know too much about it, and I was reading on the back of the label. It had all these like sort of serial numbers, and I didn't realize it's a blend of 4 different whiskeys, and then aged for that amount of time. So yeah,
cool.
Lots of complexity going on. Yeah, a lot to unpack in that dram, which is really, really lovely. And then in terms of cocktails, lately I've been liking something like a little sweeter and richer. So Remember the Main, which is rye whiskey, cherry brandy, vermouth, and then a rinse of absinthe just for some nice herbaceousness. But yeah, lovely little rich take on a Manhattan.
That sounds like my kind of drink.
Especially coming into the colder weather, yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Very good. It's been such a treat to just get to know a little bit more about your story and your journey to where you are now, but also a little bit more of an experience of what Dee's Place is like for people that haven't been able to get there. I'd love to ask, just in closing, what's the ethos that you are striving towards, in the next 5 to 10 years? It's a big aspirational question. What do you hope the tagline is that people say next to your name? When they say Devan Nesbitt, what do you hope they immediately follow it with?
Damn, that's a really tricky question. I know, just good times and good drinks, I guess, is the easiest way to distill it down. Like that's.
Are you downplaying that into like typical Kiwi?
I think I'm not trying to be the best at anything. I just want to improve people's day and have a good time doing it. Like I'm not doing it to be the best bartender or anything like that. It's just genuinely a fun thing to have as your career, is to improve people's days and weeks and make tasty things and cool experiences. So yeah.
Okay. Devan Nesbitt, good drinks, good times?
Yeah.
Good times, good drinks.
Let's do it.
Okay. Thank you so much for taking the time. It's been an absolute pleasure. Can't wait to share a drink with you soon.
Sounds good, Tash. Thank you very much.